right, so I'm officially starting week 5 of this cut, so completely done with the first half, and I am now dropping my calories to 1750. So that's 131 protein, 49 fat, and 197 carbs. That's where we're at. And I thought that I would take this time to just run you guys through how I've been decreasing my calories week by week, just to give you guys a bit of the guideline that I've been using in case you're trying to do this yourself. All right, so at the beginning, before even actually starting the first week, what I did is I did a little bit of an assessment. So before actually starting my cut, I spent almost 2 weeks at 1900 calories to see how my body would react, to try to get an idea of whether that was pretty much my maintenance or a bit of a deficit. And within those 2 weeks almost, I saw a little bit of a decrease on the scale. So I knew that that was a small deficit for me, but definitely not a big one at all because I wasn't hungry. It wasn't very hard for me to do, so it felt completely fine. So then my first week of the actual cut, I stayed at 1900. And then from there, week by week, I decreased my calories by 50. So I kept my protein around the 130s. That has not changed much. And then within those 50 calories, I decreased a little bit of my carbs and a little bit out of my fats every week. So first week I did 1900. Second week I did 1850. Third week I stayed at 1850. Last week I did 1800, and this week I'm gonna try 1750. See how that goes. I'm planning on staying at 1750 for the next 2 weeks, and then doing 2 weeks at 1700. I don't want to go lower than 1700 because I know it's going to be pretty uncomfortable for me. Like you saw in my last vlog, I'm already a little bit hungry at 1800 throughout the day. So I don't really want to drop more than an extra 100 calories per day. I think that's going to be good enough for me. And worst case, if I feel like I want a little bit more fat loss, I'd rather stay at 1700 and just worst case extend my cut by a week or two, rather than drop to like 1600 for those last 2 weeks. So that is the plan as of now. I'll let you guys know how that goes, but as of right now, I should have 2 more weeks at 1750 and then 2 to 4 weeks, let's say, at 1700, depending how I'm feeling. Anyways, we're November 10th, so in a month and a half, we'd pretty much be at the holidays. So I know for a fact that I'm not doing this for more than 6 weeks. So at most, I have an extra 6 weeks of this. And it's all good so far. It hasn't been too much of a struggle. And the really big win for me is that I have not had any like real binging urges. Like I haven't had the urge to like go insane and eat an entire big chocolate bar or finish an entire bag of chips. Yes, I have had cravings here and there, but I've either been able to just sort of forget about them, remind myself that I'm doing this for a short period of time and it's fine, or I would give in and have 1 square of chocolate or whatever, and I have felt really good. So that is personally my biggest win out of this so far. All right, guys, it is the next morning. I just rolled out of bed probably 5 minutes ago, so don't judge the face, but I promised you guys in my last video that I would do a taste test of the Bloom pre-workout. I have the watermelon and lime flavor. Whew, okay. So I'm going to give this a try it out for you guys right now, and then I'm gonna do my morning workout, get that out of the way. So I put 1 scoop in about this much water to give you an idea. Let's hope I don't make a mess today. Ooh, it smells good. It smells like, I don't know, it smells like a watermelon, those watermelon candies. That's what it smells like. Okay, so 10 out of 10 for the prettiness of the color. Add some ice. Okay, moment of truth. tastes exactly like the watermelon candies. I'm gonna pop a photo on the screen so we're on the same page, but that's exactly what it tastes like, which is honestly really good. I would say that maybe I would add a bit more water to like dilute it a bit more if I'm to like sip on it, just because it is a bit strong. I mean, it does say to put 1 scoop in 12 to 20 ounces of water, and this is probably 12 ounces, so I'm on the lower side. So for my personal preference, I don't like things super sweet, so I think I would dilute it a bit more. But overall, the flavor is really good. Can definitely drink this. The big question for me was, because there is beta-alanine in here, and I hate the feeling of beta-alanine, I'm curious to see how I'm gonna enjoy this in like 30 minutes when it kicks in. So I will report back to you guys after my workout. Two updates for you guys. So I just finished my workout and it felt amazing. Honestly, I'm really slowly but surely becoming a morning workout person. I'm such a fan of how it makes me feel, except for leg days. Leg days that early in the morning feel like the worst thing ever. I feel like it takes me 30 minutes just for my muscles to be like, oh, okay, we need to be pushing heavy shit right now. Like, it takes me so long to get into it. The first few exercises, I feel so weak. So, except for leg day, I'm loving morning workouts. So on that track of thought, line of thought, you get what I mean? In that direction, big fan of the pre-workout. I felt like I had good energy, no jitters, no beta-alanine shitty tingles. I don't understand how anyone enjoys that. So all in all, really big fan. I had no problems with it whatsoever. So thumbs up to the Bloom pre-workout. Suggested if you guys are looking for a pre-workout to try. The flavor was good and it felt fantastic. That's that. Second of all, I was initially planning on taking this vlog into the weekend, showing you guys a little bit of my weekend. I have my parents' puppy this weekend, which I'm so excited. I miss him so much since I moved out from my parents' place, and I have him here this weekend, so I was gonna show you guys some cute footage of him. But I am actually in the process of selling this camera that I'm filming on at the moment, and I think I'm actually gonna be selling it tonight. And there's a delay between me selling this tonight, which is a bit more last minute, and me getting the other camera that I ordered. So therefore, I would have nothing really to film on for this weekend and potentially even all of next week. So if there's a delay, maybe a week off from my videos, that is why. So with that being said, I'm gonna have to cut this video short, but before I let you guys go, I am going to talk about the 5 biggest mistakes that I've seen my clients make, that I have seen friends make, that I see people online make when they are trying to go into a caloric deficit, a cut, a fat loss phase, whatever you want to call it. So being as this video is still part of that series and I haven't really talked about my cut or just cutting much so far in this video, that's how we're gonna end this video. I think these are really important. I wrote these down quickly while I was making my coffee. So this is gonna be very improvised, but listen up, these are important and I see these way too often. So Number one thing is that in order to get that deficit or in order to feel like they're eating less, I see people replacing meals with snacks. That is one of the worst things that you can do because you're not gonna feel fulfilled and satisfied at the end of your meal. And so that leads to more hunger, which leads to being unhappy during the day, which leads to cravings, which leads to binging, which leads to feeling frustrated, and then the cycle continues on and on. The most important thing that I tell all my clients that are cutting is that you have to have 3 solid meals so that you are not hungry all day long. You will be hungry more often in a cut, yes, but set yourself up for success and make sure that you are hungry as little as possible during the day. So have 3 meals that you schedule according to whatever works best for you during the day, and make sure that those meals make you feel full and completely satiated at the end of those meals, so that when hunger does come, it's just like for an hour or 2 or whatever between the meals, but not sort of all day long as you're just like constantly snacking to try to feel like you're eating more. So that is number 1. Please do not do that. Number 2 is overdoing your deficit on some days. So some days are gonna happen where you were busier or you started eating later in the day, so by the time your day is coming to an end towards dinner time, you actually don't feel as hungry as usual, or maybe you had dinner and you realize that, oh, you didn't eat quite as much today and you're an extra 100 or 200 calories in a deficit. And most people immediately think, oh, that's amazing, bigger deficit, fantastic, let me not eat more and let me make sure that I'm in an even bigger deficit because that's gonna help me. And while in that day you're in a bigger deficit, yes, the likelihood of that making you extra hungry the next day is pretty high. Your body doesn't just work within 24-hour periods. Like, it doesn't just sort of entirely reset the next day and start over. One day carries on to the next. So if one day you were an extra 200 calories, 300 calories, whatever in a deficit, then odds are the next day or by the end of the week, you're gonna feel hungrier than usual. And once again, like for tip number 1, that just puts you into that mindset of feeling hungry, unsatisfied, having binging temptations, cravings, all of that. So once again, this goes along the same line. Stick with your deficits, stick with your meals, and really follow the plan. Don't try to deviate. Don't try to find ways to make the process faster. That would be honestly the biggest thing that I would say. Don't try to make the process faster, because there's a reason why it's done a certain way, to make sure that it becomes sustainable and that you can actually stick out the 8 to 12 weeks that you're supposed to be doing this. You can have 3-4 fantastic weeks, but have them be way too intense, and then the other 4 weeks go to shit, and then you end up having accomplished nothing at the end. So stick with the plan. Don't try to speed it up. Don't try to overdo it, and you will be fantastic. And then number 3 is on the complete other side, is not being consistent enough with your cut. So it's very easy to have days where you don't feel like tracking, or where something in your schedule goes wrong and you have to eat out a meal, or you can't track a meal or whatever, and those things do happen, and that is fine. But as much as possible, when you can be consistent, try to be consistent with your deficit, with your tracking, so that you don't end up at the end of the week or at the end of the month or at the end of the 8 to 12 weeks, however long you're doing it, being frustrated that you didn't see the results that you wanted to see. Like I said before, for deficits to be good, they have to be pretty small deficits. Usually it's rare that you're gonna be in more than a 500 calorie deficit per day, and that's already a big deficit. Most people stick around the 200 to 400 a day deficit. So when you think about that, let's say you're really good for 3 days and you were at a 300 calorie deficit, that's 900 calories. That is fantastic, amazing. But then if for 2 days every single week you go 200-300 calories over your deficit, well then at the end of your week you only end up with a 300 calorie deficit, which is tiny. That is gonna take you weeks to even lose 1 pound of the fat that you're trying to lose. So it's important with small, well done deficits that you be very consistent and very honest with yourself, because otherwise the results just simply won't happen. And I've been there. Even right now, I've had weeks where for 2 days, for some reason, I wasn't as consistent, and I knew that that week was kind of almost a week that I had to not really count in my deficits and my cut results, because I knew that week didn't provide much to my overall 2-month deficit. And it's completely fine. Worst case, if I feel like it, I'll add a week at the end. You know, those things happen and it's okay, but it's really important to be aware of those things and to be honest with yourself, so you don't end up frustrated at the end and not understanding why it didn't work, or being upset with your coach because it didn't work. You have to be consistent. You have to follow the plan. Mistake number 4 is changing up your workouts to only do cardio so that you burn more calories. Well, yes, that will help your deficit. Burning more calories leads to a bigger deficit, yes. It's important to remember that if you are in a deficit because you want that toned look and you want to give your body more shape by losing some fat, in order to get that, you need to maintain the muscle mass that you have. And by being in a deficit, you're already making it more likely that your body is also going to break down some of the muscle that you've built in order to sustain itself because of the deficit. So you want to minimize muscle loss, and by completely removing resistance training from your program and by adding more cardio, adding more calories burned, going into a bigger deficit than what was intended, you are putting yourself at a higher chance of losing some of that muscle. And if you lose muscle and you lose fat, then your body fat percentage will not change as much, which is the goal. The goal of a fat loss phase is not the primary goal. I mean, it's not necessarily for the weight to change so much or for so many pounds of fat loss. Those things are part of it, yes. But the biggest goal usually by going into a deficit is to change your body fat percentage, because your body fat percentage, it's what gives you the physique look that most people are after. So in order to do that, you need to keep your muscle mass steady. If you start here, let's say you start at 26% body fat, that means that your proportion of muscle to fat is at a certain level. The goal is to keep your muscle almost at the same level and drop the fat a little bit so that overall your fat to muscle ratio becomes smaller and you get that more defined look that you want. So keep your resistance training going. Even if you add one cardio session, or if you change one resistance workout to more of a HIIT circuit style to burn a few more calories, fine. That's a change you can make, but just do not completely eliminate your resistance training. And number 5, along with consistency, is don't estimate what you're eating and how much you're eating too often. If you are tracking and if you want to do this the more serious, I guess, or more structured way, that's a better word. If you want to do this the structured way, where you know exactly how much you're eating, you know exactly what your deficit is, then actually do it the structured way and track and be good about your tracking. Use a food scale, use grams, not cups. Be as specific as possible if you want to do it that way and you want to be pretty sure of the results you're going to get. So along with that, don't estimate too often. Don't estimate, oh yeah, this looks about like the same 100 grams that I think I had 2-3 days ago, or this, you know, using a cup and having it be overly full and be like, yeah, that's about a cup. If you want to do this the precise way, be precise. And if you don't, that's also completely fine. There are so many ways to be in a caloric deficit or to be in a fat loss phase without ever tracking. There are ways to do that, and it can be done really, really well, but it is a less precise way, which, like I said, it's fine. Tracking is not for everyone, and it doesn't mean you're gonna have worse results. It just means that there is a bit more guesswork. It might take a little bit longer, which is fine. I don't know how many times I have said fine in this video, but I want to make sure that I'm not trying to throw out the message that every single person has to track, or that if you want to lower your body fat percentage, you have to track. That is not what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you do decide to track, then actually track, because once again, odds are that if not, you're going to end up at the end of the program and you're going to be frustrated and not understand why your results aren't what you want them to be. You're going to be upset at yourself. You're going to be upset at your coach. You're just going to be overall frustrated, and then you're going to blame your genetics and you're going to blame whatever other circumstances, when in fact you just weren't actually as consistent. So these tips ended up being, for the most part, a little bit of tough love, but that's okay. That is necessary sometimes, because once again, I have been there. I have tried to do this so many times in the past, but I was just not in the right mindset to do it. I was not really it wasn't actually a priority. You know, I said that I wanted to change my body because yes, I did, but I wasn't necessarily willing to do what I needed to do. Whereas now, I'm trying to be a lot more intentional with when I say that I want to do something. I really think about it. I'm like, okay, do I actually want to do this? Am I actually ready to prioritize this? And if you don't, completely fine. Find another way, find another strategy, or just move on to another goal, another objective in your life, and be happy. Live your life the way you want to. But if you decide that this is a priority, then get a good strategy going, stick with it, and be consistent. It is only a few months, and you can do it. Everyone can do it if you have the right plan behind it, and if you are in a good mindset to prioritize it. So that's that for the 5 tips before I let you guys go. Next time I see you guys, it will be on the new camera. Hopefully you will notice. Honestly, I don't think the video quality is gonna be that different, but it has a couple of features that I'm very excited about. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not already. And I will see you guys hopefully next week. Bye.